What's up, my cronies, and welcome back to Let's Play Gunman's Proof. This is in fact the penultimate episode of the Let's Play, and as always I hope you've been enjoying the episodes you've seen. So we have quite a bit to do in this episode, and as you can probably tell by the time, not much time to do it. So let's get to it, shall we? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go find the final health upgrade that isn't, of course, from a dungeon. Because we have two little circles left, which means one from this dungeon, one from a chest somewhere. So we need to go up near the ghost town. And I guess this one can be accessed immediately upon once you get the crucifix. Once you can get past the blocking ghost. So you go up past where you would go to the ghost town, over where I kind of explored after I finished that dungeon, and you're gonna go to the left. Or the west, if you will. If you consider up being north. But you keep going for a couple screens, and eventually you'll find a pathway near some horrifying looking enemies. What are they wearing blue jeans? Those little frogs? Red frogs wearing blue jeans. That's something I've never seen before. Well, except technically because I've already recorded the video. But yeah. So you'll come around, and that is the entrance to, I believe that's the Ninja Cave, the second dungeon of the game. So you see this chest pretty early, and I guess you can technically access it fairly early in the game, but I didn't come to it till now, till almost the end. So anyway, after you've gotten it, just snake back around and head right, or east, if you will. Oh look, I found a carrot. It's been a while since we found our trusty donkey friend, who can climb ladders, it seems. And I guess it'll save us a little bit of time where we can just kind of rush through a couple screens. Just run down those enemies that normally have quite a bit of health. And we've come to a dead end. Yeah, there's a kind of a specific way to get to this dungeon. You have to go up on this ledge up here, and then go around. And you have to actually drop down a little bit before making it in. And it's right here, and if you come here before this point in the game, there would be electricity around the entrance and you wouldn't be able to get in. Basically, the only reason it was there is to prevent you from coming here before any of the other dungeons, I guess. And mysteriously, the townspeople were able to deactivate it. Anyway, upon entering the dungeon, the first direction you're going to want to go is to the left. You're going to want to go down these stairs, or up, is it? Up or down? I think it's down. And eventually you'll find your first treasure of the dungeon. Okay, moving on. This dungeon is pretty linear, and it's kind of sad that it is for being so late in the game, because really, I mean, most dungeons have a lot of rooms where you have to kill a bunch of enemies to move on. In this dungeon, they're all pretty slow, and you don't even really have to kill them. You just kind of walk by everything. But here we come to what is actually a mini-boss. Just about the only mini-boss the game actually has to offer. And he's got quite a bit of health, so it's going to be a really good idea to have the bazooka at the start of this dungeon. And he has two basic attack patterns, which you're seeing one of them now, where he just kind of shoots. And he also punches, which he punches towards where you're standing, so if you're constantly moving, it shouldn't be a problem and you shouldn't get hit. Unfortunately, I do get hit quite a bit. And the safe spot for that attack is just to the left or to the right of the door. I mean, there's several other safe spots, but that's the easiest one, in my opinion, because you can still kind of shoot him in between volleys. So hopefully he should be about out of health. I'm down to my magnum. And there he goes. Drops a gold coin, and we go on to find a red treasure chest, which actually contains an angel. I guess it's this game's version of the Great Fairy or whatever. Or the spirit of the chest, rather. She gives us two options. Clothing that allows us to have higher attack, or clothing that allows us to have higher defense. I actually chose the higher defense one, because I did find the bandana in the last episode. And plus I figure I take some stupid damage sometimes, though in hindsight I probably should have gone with the attack clothing, just because I have more lives than I know what to do with, but whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I guess it technically helps us out. I think I actually come close to dying at some point in this dungeon, but I don't because I have extremely high defense now. Anyway, whatever you choose, you need to backtrack to the beginning of the dungeon, and then you can move on. So I guess you were going down. And now if you go to the right, you will now ascend the tower and make your way up to the top. See, that dude took a bunch of shots. Those dudes have a lot of health. They're not that threatening because they just kind of walk around and don't really do anything, but these guys are the annoying ones, the magnet guys that shoot really quickly in all directions. But like most things in this dungeon, you can just kind of walk by them. Now, the blue ones seem to die in one hit. I know the red ones take a lot more hits. I don't really know how the blue ones attack because I just kind of took them out before they could do anything, but whatever. Anyway, like I said, this is an incredibly linear dungeon. You just kind of loop around, and the treasures are all really hidden in plain sight, and they really take no challenge to get. I mean, sometimes you'll have to go maybe to another room that's just right there, but for the most part, they're just all right there. Like, see here, there's 2 paths you can go, and look, here's a treasure in one. But we are actually kind of close to the end of the dungeon already. We're not even 7 minutes in. The boss fight does take a while on this level. And look, here's another treasure in this room. But unfortunately, we have to kill a bunch of these dudes. I found that the charge shot worked kind of well, because you could hit multiple enemies in a single shot. And really, once again, they're not threatening at all. And you can open the chest and find yet another treasure. And I think that's the last treasure of the dungeon. Not totally sure. I do know right before the boss there's actually a chest with health in it. Like, to restore your health to max before the boss of the dungeon. Now there's these guys. I think I was trying to get a bazooka at this point, so I was actually trying to kill them. But no luck there. These guys I would want to avoid, because it's very easy to get hit by those guys. And I believe this is the last floor. Oh, and we found a weapon. Wonderful. Get my trusty bazooka, because I do think that that's the best weapon for this fight. Which is probably the most involved of all boss fights of the game. And here's the chest I was talking about with the delicious meat. You know, in most games they'll just say, oh, it's meat or whatever. Actually, in Castlevania, when you find the pork chop in the wall, actually, like, whenever I would see that, I'd be like, oh, Simon Belmont found a delicious meal. I know it's not called that, but it's just fun to say. So they actually said, delicious meat. Anyway, we found the boss and the girl that he'd kidnapped. And now we have to get her back. And now Sarah kind of figures out what's going on, that Nick has been possessed by a space sheriff. And so she's kind of disappointed that this had happened. I mean, I wouldn't really be disappointed. I'd just be kind of freaked out, like, what? But anyway, he, after kidnapping her, says, I'm done with you, so bye. So once again, it's kind of, why would he kidnap her in the first place if we were going to come for him anyway? It doesn't really make sense. Anyway, we tell Sarah to get to safety so we can kill this guy. And then we'll go get our woman. I like the clouds in the background. They look nice. Not the ones at the bottom, the ones up near the top, the squiggly drawing looking ones. They look pretty cool. I like it. And I do believe when the boss theme when the boss fight starts, we actually get a different theme than usual. Yeah. We get a super special song for a super special boss fight. Now he has several attack patterns. At first, he will go back and forth shooting diagonal shots that are quite easy to dodge because they don't really travel too fast and they travel at an angle. Anyway, after just a couple shots at the bazooka, he'll go on to his second pattern, which is slightly harder to dodge, but still not too bad. He tends to, when he goes from the left to the right, it looks like he shoots more when he's in the middle than he is on the sides. Once again, it's pretty easy to dodge. And I believe, yeah, just as quickly as he started, he goes on to his next form, which seems very difficult, but it's once again another point in the game where you have to crawl. You can just crawl under these shots and you'll never get hit. So you can lead off a shot before he gets to in front of you, and the lingering hitbox of the bazooka will be fine and hit him. But eventually you'll come down to your magnum. So you'll have to time your shots a little bit closer to when he's near you. You don't have time to charge up your shots, so... Also, his shots are very loud in comparison to the music. But eventually he'll go on to his next form, which is... It looks pretty terrifying, but once you realize that there's a very, very safe spot you can stand, you'll be fine. And that is where I'm standing now. You'll never get hit. And I also believe that just on the mirror side, on the left side, you can stand there as well, because it doesn't really look like you'll get hit. Anyway, here you have to charge up your shots, because if you fire normally, you'll just shoot the rockets, and you won't hit them. So you have to charge up your shots so it goes through everything, and it does take a while. But this is the final form of the boss, and we're pretty much done with the fight at this point. Alright, here we go. We've pretty much won now. As he crashes down to the ground. Except you hear something starting to charge up, and you see what looks like to be a terrifying final form. Except for some reason he just kind of blows up and dies. But whatever, we've finished. There's that noise again that I love so much. We've pretty much finished up the dungeon at this point, as his bandana or whatever floats to the ground. It turns into the final health upgrade, and we now have the maximum amount of health we can have, and that treasure chest is precariously balanced on the edge of the tower. And now all that's left is to go to the final area and fight the final boss. And to get through his dungeon, technically. What little of a dungeon there is. But we now have pretty much everything in the game at our disposal to throw at the final boss. So it shouldn't be too bad. And once again, it says 18 minutes, but it's only been 13 and a half or so. I still don't get that timer. And why it always gives me a grade of C for no matter what I do. No matter what I get, all the treasure, everything, it still just says, you just did okay. And for the first time, it actually warps us immediately back to the town. So that's a little bit of backtracking that we don't have to do. Sarah's safe, of course, and we've killed the final boss. Or the next to the final boss. So as always, the sheriff is happy that we've killed another Demi-Seed boss, and our father's happy that we'll be getting another fat reward. But Sarah's just still a little confused. So as always, the sheriff says, you can go ahead and take care of the final boss. We're just gonna sit here in town, where we're relatively safe. Now we have to talk to Sarah, and kind of explain things. Huh? She just wants her friend back. That's all she needed to know. Aw, how sweet. She gives him a little kiss. And he seems very happy. I like how the sheriff and his dad turned away. And just like that, the Happy Town theme is back. Now, before we go and save, of course we're gonna talk to our father and the sheriff and whatever. But we need to talk to the lovable Chinese merchant before... Well, also we have to get our reward, which really doesn't matter at this point, because we're basically at the end of the game. Ah, $3,000 reward. That's a hefty reward. Anyway, like I said, now we need to go talk to the Chinese merchant, who has some pretty funny lines right here, and he'll give us a little something to use against the final boss. He gives us what's called the Ascension Bomb, which basically looks like it'll kill anything on the screen, which I guess we kind of need for the final boss. Show those demi-seeds who their daddy is. I cheering for you, success. Whoever translated this game did a good job. Anyway, now we've come to the end. Tune in next time as we'll go finish the game, kill the final boss. And I hope you've enjoyed watching, and as always, thank you for watching, and have a great day. So I will now save for the final time. Goodbye, everybody.